What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. I don't know if you remember a while back, I showed a picture of Cesar from Gibson. I believe it was him wearing a white version of this guitar, kinda, sorta. So it was like a tease, and I got excited. And we talked about not too long ago the ones that got away, and right there at the top. And if it wasn't for that vintage late '50s Les Paul Jr., this would have been number one. This would have been number one. And you can imagine my excitement when I heard that they were going to reissue it. However, Gibson seemed to have dropped the ball. And I know a lot of people are going to think a lot of the things I'm going to talk about are trivial, but they really aren't when it comes to certain things. So let me back up a little bit. Let me back up. So let's go back to about 1986 or so. 1986. And I have to dog sit for a friend of the family, and they said they would rent me a video to watch while I hung out for the evening, and they were going to give me some money. I don't remember why. I don't remember how. It never happened before. It never happened after. So I rented the Cliff 'em All video. Hadn't seen it yet, you know. So I took that as an opportunity to finally view that. And when I saw James during Master of Puppets come out with this Explorer, I fell in love. I fell deeply in love. I think I've been more in love with this thing than I have anything else on this planet. And from day one, I think within that week I went to a couple of guitar shops. And I, at the time, didn't know it was called an Explorer. I would just say a rear-routed, like this. And then I finally got told it was an Explorer. So I kept calling it the rear-routed Explorer, a white rear-routed. I remember one guy asked me, why do you want them rear-routed? Don't you like the pickguard? And I'm like, the pickguard's fine, but there was just something about this one, the way he carried it on him, the way it kind of, the bottom angled up a little bit when he leaned forward and jammed. There was just a whole vibe to this guitar. And everywhere I would go, nobody had either heard of it or they hadn't seen one ever. So I thought it was going to be this fucking unicorn. Oh, excuse me. It was going to be this unicorn. And in a way, it turned out to be my unicorn. I've been hunting for one of these forever. So we'll fast forward to about 92-ish, maybe 90, 91. And I'm in a store called Daddy's Junkie Music on Route 1 in Peabody when they were on the southbound side, not the northbound side. Those who go way back will know exactly what I'm talking about. It's now a Dunkin' Donuts. And there was a black one. And it happened right around when the Black Album was really huge. I don't remember how close to the release, but I remember they had a sign on there saying, this is a perfect meld of the ESP and the Gibson that James used. They're capitalizing on that. They were capitalizing on the fact that James used one of these, what came to be the early 80s / designer series Explorers, even though they didn't have any paint graphics or anything like that. But they were also capitalizing on the fact that the ESP Explorer style guitars he was playing were black, all black. So they're like, get this one. This is rad. It's a little bit of both worlds. And they were right. So Chris bought it. It was $350. $350. All original. Alder body. Maple neck. Dirty Fingers pickups. Oh my God, if you've never heard Dirty Fingers pickups, listen to Master of Puppets. That's all I gotta say. Ebony fretboard. Just pure perfection. Pure perfection. I ended up trading it for a Les Paul Studio wine red with gold hardware, ebony fretboard, and the trapezoid inlays. I was taken in by its beauty, and I bought that instead. And I traded in the Explorer for it. I've been kind of chasing it ever since. And of course, because of the popularity of James Hetfield, and of course, the nostalgia for the 80s, the value of those guitars have gone to a point where I can't afford it. However, I heard Gibson was coming out with one. All right? So I got excited because I can go into this website called Zounds and pay monthly for it. $2,500 is a lot for me. It's an extraordinary lot of money. but I was excited still. There was hope. I don't have to have a vintage one, to be perfectly honest with you. As long as it's spec'd just like the original one. We're going to get to that. Here's our buddy right here. Actually, it looks like I already had it up, but that's okay. Here's our buddy right here. If you want to watch a really great video about this, Trogley's Guitars. He did a review of this guitar yesterday. And of course, I watched it a couple of times. And my heart sunk. My heart fucking sunk. The first glaring problem with this thing is the shape of it. They literally just took their standard Explorer body, told the CNC machine not to route out right here, because it would normally have a big pickguard here, and underneath what would happen was there'd be a kind of an oval route here for the three-way switch, and a channel to go to all this stuff, which then would have the control layout for that style of Explorer, and a giant honking pickguard, which is a look, and it's fine. It's a nice looking guitar. I have no problem with that. I recently owned one, but traded it for my Jackson. But this right here, this section right here, this upper bout, I guess you would call it, the bass side, is not even close. It's not even close. It needs to be. I know this picture's not going to show it very well, but this area right here is a lot less jaunt. Same with down here. Same with down here. So right off the bat, we already have problems with the shape of the guitar. If you move down here, and this is where a lot of people are going to be like, well, why are you nitpicking this stuff? Because there was a vibe to it. There was a feel to it. If it's not going to feel like that guitar, then I don't want it, you know? I don't want an idea of that guitar. I can do that all day long, honestly. I have a rear-routed Explorer body that I could turn into this. But it won't be this because it won't have the proper shape. It won't have the proper whatever. The control layout is way off. Now, yes, I will admit this. The toggle switch should be right about here on the original, which did make it a little obnoxious, but you get used to it. You get used to it. No one truly complained about it. So this is actually an improvement what they did. But it just looks goofy to guys who are into this specific niche of guitar. This volume needs to be a little bit forward, and this needs to be a little bit back, and this a little bit over this way. The way this is laid out is these two are volume, and this one is a master tone. Neck, bridge, and then tone for both. So the layout's completely wrong. Now, it doesn't have an ebony fretboard, which is fine. That I can live without the ebony fretboard. You can darken rosewood and make it look nice. It's not going to have the same feel. That was a nice silky feel for the ebony fretboard because they're literally smooth, hardly any kind of porous attributes at all, at least in the example I've had. You know, the examples of guitars with ebony, I should say, I've had. Whereas rosewood, though, being a nice, warm, beautiful piece of wood, is porous and it has a completely different feel, and that belongs with its own thing. The headstock is off. This tuner, I don't know. There's just something goofy about the head. It doesn't even look like they cropped this out properly. Maybe they did. It just looks silly. But so the shape and everything is off. All right, so what, Chris? So what? So now we're going to get into more of the glaring problems. We're going to come down here to the specs, the specifications. Slim taper neck, which is what it did have, and that's a great profile if you like that kind of thing. 12-inch radius, perfect. Graphtec nut, nice little upgrade, especially for the $2,500 they want for this. Acrylic dots, that's what the original had. I'm fine with that. Scale length is in 22 frets. I don't remember what the nut width is, but I'm going to assume that that's pretty comparable. Glued in set neck, same. Indian rosewood, we already talked about that. Jumbo frets was on that as well. And I don't know if this is the same spec, but again, big deal. This is where we have a big problem, right here. Right here. Mahogany body. The originals were alder with a maple neck. And again, mahogany is an upgrade. I'm putting up quotes right now. But it's its own thing. It's a different vibe. It's a different sound. It's a different feel. Different weight. The way it takes the finish is completely different than alder. Alder's a tighter grain wood. It's lighter. It has a different resonance to it. Now you could school me all day about tone woods and not tone woods. Wood matters. I'm not going to sit there and say it's going to shape the tone, drastically. But there's a certain vibe when you're, and I'm going to keep saying that word, when you strum the strings. Mahogany has a different resonant vibration than alder does. And you feel that when it's in your hands and you're plucking the strings. You feel that when you're going up and down the fretboard, when you're in the moment, you're feeling all that. Gibson dropped the ball on this. Wicked bad. Now, my other kind of consolation, which is not much of a consolation at all, is that they're holding off for a James Hetfield signature model. And hopefully they will spec that one out properly. They're probably going to put his EMG set in there, but whatever. Oh, we haven't even gotten to the pickups yet. We haven't even gotten to the pickups yet. We'll talk about that here in a few minutes. And if that's the case, here's the problem with that. Is it's probably going to be somewhere in the ballpark of 20 grand plus. I mean, Greenie just came out for Kirk Hammett, and he has that V that came out. And there's different tiers of it. And we are going to get an Epiphone version, but it's an Epiphone version of Greenie. You know what I mean? I would play it, but I'm not going to get excited for it. It's not going to have the same deal, It's about vibe. It's about vibe, not aesthetic right now with me, with the exception of the shape of this. So I kind of contradicted myself, but regardless, who cares? I don't care. Electronics. The original pickups the original guitar came with dirty finger pickups. This comes with these 80's Tribute, which I will admit, in Trogley's video, that bridge pickup, it worked. It did what it was supposed to do, and it sounded pretty spot on. It had a nice crunch to it. The mid-ranges were right where they were supposed to be. Nice, balanced metal up your tushy. But the dirty fingers just had something else. The neck pickup itself, however, was it was half the resistance. And again, a lot of people can sit there and say, well, that doesn't matter or anything. Well, it does matter. It adds and subtracts from certain things. I'm not going to sit there and say it's going to shape your tone. But if you got an 18K bridge pickup and a 7K neck pickup, they'll work together, but it's just, I don't know. It's just not the same. It's not the same. Gibson, I hate to say it because I don't like swearing on this channel, but Gibson fucked this up bad. And I'm legit upset about it. I am legit upset about this. But what are you going to do? What are you going to do? It's a thing. I'll get over it. I promise I'll get over it. But I just wanted to shame Gibson for a few minutes, I championed them for years. Their quality went down, especially after the 90s, and it just got uglier and uglier. And it seemed like they were back on track. And it's these things right here. Most people aren't going to know it. Most people aren't going to notice it. The one thing I am proud of, and let's see if there's a close-up of it. This right here. This. On a lot of these special editions or whatever, they would put a Pearl logo in here, whereas the original had a gold silk screen, and I'm fine with that. I would actually prefer it because it is on par with the specs. God damn it, move over. That's on par with what I had. Now, do I want a black one? Well, right now I don't have a choice because that's all they offer is ebony. I would be okay with that if the specs were proper, but I would hold out for a white one. I'm going to hold out for a white one, and hopefully they'll get the rest of the specs proper. And if they don't, then maybe I'll just pass on this and save my pennies and buy an original non-Kaler, non-goofy paint job white example. Creamed over, I don't know, but embrace the masses of metal and rock. Yeah, you can do that with this, but it's not going to be. It's not what you think it is. And I'm sorry for all those who are excited and may have already bought it, and now I just kind of ruined it for you. But I got to call out BS when I see it, and this is BS. This is crap. I'm just going to come right out and say it. It is crap. Not to mention the example Trogley showed had lots of QC problems. So It is what it is, guys. Let me know in the comments what you think. Do you even like the Explorer? Do you have a specific model in mind that comes to your brain when you think of the word Gibson Explorer? Have you ever owned one? Give me your Explorer story if you have one. Make a video. I don't care. I'd love to hear it. Do you own one of these? One of the originals? Whether it has a Kaler or not, or whether it has the blue splatter or the gold stripes, or the guys who know what I'm talking about know what I'm talking about. Let me know how you feel about the guitar, what you thought about it, and if it's something in your arsenal that you use often, or it's just one of those I just have it, it's kind of cool. But either way, leave feedback. Thumbs up, thumbs down, all feedback to the Creeps Positive, guys. Thank you always so much for watching. I would really appreciate a subscription if you haven't done so yet. Please click that and the whole bell, the dingy-lingy thing. I actually have 3 videos slotted, and this was the 3rd one, but I want to get it out first because it was fresh on my mind. We're going to be talking about a van here in a few minutes, and we're also going to be talking about art. And I'll leave you with this. The video is going to be called Art is Not Safe. Guys, wherever you are in the world, I hope you're doing well. And until next time, take care. Creep it real. And bye-bye. Gibson, come on, man. Come on. Don't do this to me. I can't take any more disappointments, as stupid as it sounds.